This happened when I was 17 years old, a time when my routine revolved around hitting the gym 3 to 4 times a week and catching the bus home. Picture this, it's a Sunday. I had just missed my bus and was left with no choice but to wait for the next one. My parents were out for the evening and hailing a taxi was not exactly budget-friendly, so I took a seat at the bus shelter, bracing myself against the cold night air as snow began to dust the ground. My bus seemed to be taking its sweet time, so I pulled out my phone and drowned out the silence with some music. An hour ticked by, a freezing hour in which I saw not a soul. That was until I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. A man, swathed in layers of clothing, was ambling towards me. I kept my gaze on my phone, not wanting to draw attention to myself. The man settled down at the other end of the shelter, his attention fixed on me. There was an unsettling air about him, as if he were under the influence of alcohol or drugs. He broke the silence, asking when the bus was due. I removed my earphones and replied, "I think it's delayed because of the snow." He stared at me for a moment before mumbling to himself, his behavior becoming increasingly disconcerting. A few minutes later, I risked another glance at the man. He had moved closer. I looked away only to hear him sliding even closer. I turned to him and asked, "You okay there?" His response was a glassy-eyed stare, an outstretched arm, and a lurch towards me. I grabbed my bag and bolted, leaving him to fall to the ground. I sprinted down the road, not daring to look back until I reached the next bus stop. The man was nowhere in sight, but just as I began to feel a sense of relief, I heard a knock. It was him, staring at me through the glass. As he began to approach, I warned him to stay back, my voice filled with panic. I wanted to run, but my bag was still in the shelter. Suddenly, he lunged at me. I sidestepped and he fell face first onto the ground. I stood frozen in shock, noticing blood seeping from his face. I tried to get a response out of him, but to no avail. I called the police and paramedics who arrived shortly after. I told them what had happened. They found a photo in his wallet of him and his son, who bore a striking resemblance to me. It hit me then. He had mistaken me for his son. I later learned that he had lost his son in a custody battle and had spiraled out of control. He was taken away for treatment, and that was the last I saw of him. Not long after, I got my driver's license and swore off buses for good. It was a chilling experience, a stark reminder of how unpredictable life can be. And it was an incident that marked the end of my bus riding days.